notorious dictators from Americas, and of course with stats and facts for each. Here I made a composition of the most evil dictators who ever lived and ruled in American countries. And of course, let's unveil some terrifying historical facts about each. Well, let's start first. Begin with Rafael Trujillo. Dominican Republic from 1930 to 1961. He ruled for 31 years and was responsible for killing more than 50,000 people. Some facts including cult of personality, harsh oppression of dissident, economic growth but at the cost of extreme oppression. He rose to power. He took control after a military coup, Then won a rigged election. He ended up assassinated in 1961 by his own military officers, Rafael Trujillo. The next in our list was in Chile. It's about Augusto Pinochet. Between 1973 and 1990, he's responsible for killing 3,000 people during his regime and 40,000 tortured. He rose to power during a military coup in 1973 with CIA support. Some facts. A later US backed up coup against Salvador Allende, and he implemented neoliberal reforms and ruled under military dictatorship. How he ended up, he stepped down in 1990, arrested in 1998, but was never fully prosecuted. He died in 2006. Augusto Pinochet. Next in the list is Anastasio Somoza, de Baile. Anastasio de Baile. Well, he ruled in Nicaragua between 1967 and 1979. Rise to power, he took over after his father's assassination, consolidating power through military control. The stats shown that over 50,000 people killed during his tyrannic rule, led a corrupt, brutal regime with US backing, known for his severe oppressions against dissidents. Well, how he ended up? It was overthrown by Sandinista Revolution in 1979 and was assassinated in exile in 1980. Next one is Jorge Rafael Videla. Jorge Rafael Videla. In Argentina, between 1976 and 1981, 1976 and 1981. Over 30,000 people disappeared during the Dirty War. Rise to power, seize the power in a military coup. So military coup. Against Isabel Perón. Led a military junta and was infamous for human rights abuse, including baby theft. And he was arrested in 1983, sentenced to life prison, and died in 2013. Good. Next. Manuel Noriega in Panama. Manuel Noriega in Panama. Well, rise to power, became head of Panamanian military, and then took control. It was CIA asset who turned dictator, involved with cartels, with drug cultures, and ruled with fear. He was involved in drug trafficking, corruption, and military oppression. He was captured in 1989, during the US invasion of Panama, and died in prison in 2017. Next is Alfredo Stroessner, Paraguay. Alfredo Stroessner. From 1954 to 1989. 1954 to 1989. He rose to power with the help of military coup. Ruled for 35 years, and thousands of people were killed during his regime or exiled. He ran one-party state, harbored Nazi fugitives, and used torture extensively against his opponents. He ended up overthrown in 1989 and died in exile in Brazil in 2006. Next, Efraín Ríos Montt. Efraín Montt. Guatemala. 1982 to 1983, just 1 year. 1982 to 1983. Well, rise to power, military coup. Military coup in 1982 carried out genocide against indigenous Mayans, known for extensive massacres against own people. He killed 200,000 kills in Guatemala's civil war. So, the shortest rule of them all, but the most kills in a genocide and a civil war. He ended up overthrown in 1983. He was convicted for genocide, but the verdict was overturned. He died in 2018. Now, Francis Papadoc Duvalier, François Papadoc Duvalier, Papa Doc. In Haiti, 1957 to 1971, 1957 to 1971. Well, he won the election, then declared himself El Presidente for life. Won election. He used voodoo mysticism to control people, created secret police. So, voodoo use. 30,000 people killed in his rule of 14 years. He died in office in 1971. But the next was his son, Jean-Claude Baby Dog Duvalier. Baby Dog. 1971 to 1986. 1971 to 1986. Jean-Claude Duvalier. He continued his father's brutal rule, stole millions of money from Haiti treasure, and he lived a luxury life in Haiti. Meanwhile, the country remained impoverished. He lost United States support due to human rights abuses. He ended up overthrown in 1986. He fled to France, returned in Haiti in 2011, but died in 2014. Good. Next. Fulgencio Batista. Fulgencio Batista. Cuba. Years to power 1944 until 1959. 1944 until 1959. He won the election as president, but ruled as a dictator from 1952. Well, notable facts. He seized the power, backed up by the US due to the anti-communist policies. Corrupt regime with ties with mafia and suppression of opposition. He was overthrown by Fidel Castro in the Cuban Revolution in 1959. Okay, so and now Fidel Castro. 1959 to 2008. Well, he ruled for 49 years. One of the most longevous tyrants ever existed in Americas. Thousands of people were executed, mass exiles of dissidents. He led the Cuban Revolution against Batista and took power in 1959. Fidel Castro led communist Cuba. He survived over 600 assassination attempts and defied US embargo to Cuba. He was a communist ruler. He stepped down to the illness in 2008 and died in 2016. Good. Next. Porfirio Díaz. Well, Mexico, 1876 until 1911. Rise to power, seized the power in 1876. Then he ruled as a dictator, so seized the power. Ruled for 35 years, increasing the wealth gap. He led to the Mexican Revolution. He was overthrown in 1911 during the Mexican Revolution and died in exile in France in 1915. Next is Victoriano Huerta. From 1913 to 1914. 1913 to 1914. Again, okay, this dictator was again in Mexico. Rise to power, overthrew Presidente Francisco Madero in 1913. He ruled over for 17 months, assassinating all his opponents. He seized the power in a coup and was known as El Chacal, the Jackal, El Chacal, El Chacal, or the Jackal. He ended up in 1914 overthrown, arrested and dying in U.S. custody in 1916. And the last one in our list is Nicolas Maduro. Nicolas Maduro. 2013 until present. Well, his title is El Presidente, but is accused as being the dictator. Notable facts: he is widely accused for rigging election, suppressed the opposition, and jailed political rivals. What is the most important dramatical fact is that he led Venezuela into a severe economic crisis and inflation. Well, he is still running the country. Okay, and now at the end, well, we can see that, in conclusion, most of the dictators from this list seized the power through military coups. So, for military coups or rigged election. Many had US backing at some point, like Augusto Pinochet, Manuel Noriega, and Fulgencio Batista. Well, most of them ruled with oppression, torture, and suppression of opposition. Most of them were eventually overthrown, assassinated, or died in exile and prison. Well, all of them have ended up badly, in a bad manner. Well, I hope you enjoyed this maybe cool ASMR, but creepy ASMR history of the tyrants of the Americas, or the notorious or most evil dictators who ever existed in that part